shall we begin?
Let me make my meaning abundantly and completely clear if I can. The United States deplores any war, cold or otherwise. Its only desire is to live in peace and freedom and to let all other peoples live in peace and freedom.
But for the first time now, the CIA has released documents that show its role in the 1953 coup. That is the coup that toppled Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister. Mohammad Mossadegh had moved to nationalize oil production in Iran.
2 weeks ago, unquote. Apparently, around the same time, the president signed the covert operations order. The new leader spent the past 2 decades of his life in Libya? No. In suburban Virginia, where he had no visible means of support.
The latest come from Yemen. Eyewitnesses are telling CNN that there are large protests taking place outside the U.S. Embassy in the capital city of Sana'a.
The CIA wants the authority to launch signature strikes. Now, signature strike means that they don't have to know the identities of those who could be killed.
The issue here that I'm concerned with, and that is the fact that the U.S. and the CIA are working to overthrow the Syrian government of Assad, while Russia, a longtime ally of Assad for decades now, is working to defend or uphold this Syrian government of Assad. And this puts us in a position of a possible direct head-to-head conflict with Russia as long as the U.S. and CIA continue down this path.
Because he was caught off balance by the protests in the Maidan and Yanukovych then fleeing after we had brokered a deal to transition power in Ukraine. We had brokered a deal to transition power in Ukraine.
The cities which Kiev is now striving to force into submission are sitting on large, untapped reserves of natural gas.
Это официальный сайт украинской компании «Бурисма», самого крупного производителя природного газа на Украине. Все ее директора – иностранцы. Да какие! Вот, знакомьтесь, управляющий фирмы Хантер Байден, родной сын действующего вице-президента Соединенных Штатов Америки Джо Байдена.
The economic interest in this case is what's driving the coup regime in Kiev to launch military action against its own citizens.
Депутати, які приїхали, що вони общалися з людьми, які були на блокпостах, які просять, випрошують, виривають команду порвати сепаратистів, дайте їм таку можливість. Дайте їм таку можливість. Нехай воюють, нехай заключають договір. Мене ніхто не питався, чи я сьогодні готовий вбити людину.
There are actually people who have gone from the U.S. and helped Nazi battalions in Ukraine and returned to the U.S. without prosecution.
English-speaking foreigners in Ukraine's army uniform in the port city of Mariupol.
Stop,
Out my face, please. And this man was caught on camera as a journalist trying to question him on the situation in the city shortly after it was shelled.
Documents from George Soros's Open Society Foundations show persistent efforts by the organization to influence the political process in Europe.
You have influence on the part of the principal policymaker, not only towards Russia, but towards Eastern Europe.
Yes. The country where I'm most engaged and we are really working together is Ukraine.
Yes.
If you go back over history from the end of World War II to the present, you will see a consistent pattern followed by the United States government to bring about regime change in countries, and that is to send in well-funded non-governmental organizations, activist groups, agitators, agent provocateurs, and create massive civil unrest to destabilize and bring down a democratic government.
We've spoken with some of the folks with Black Lives Matter that are familiar to us, and they have tried, and they understand this is not them. This is an anarchist group that is hijacked and inserted itself in a larger crowd.
This is the
Portland Police Bureau.
Here we come.
This area is a restricted access area.
News, the city of Portland, a riot zone tonight. At least 4,000 protesters in the streets, windows smashed, buildings spray painted, cars damaged. The big question, did police wait too long to move in with riot gear?
Greetings, sleepers. The totality of what is revealed in the 3 hacked documents show that Soros is effectively the puppet master pulling most of the strings in Kiev. Soros Foundation's Ukraine branch, International Renaissance Foundation, IRF, has been involved in Ukraine since 1989. His IRF doled out more than $100 million to Ukrainian NGOs 2 years before the fall of the Soviet Union, creating the preconditions for Ukraine's independence from Russia in 1991. Soros also admitted to financing the 2013 to 2014 Maidan Square protests that brought the current government into power. Soros foundations were also deeply involved in the 2004 Orange Revolution that brought the corrupt but pro-NATO Viktor Yushchenko into power with his American wife who had been in the US State Department. In 2004, just weeks after Soros' International Renaissance Foundation had succeeded in getting Viktor Yushchenko as president of Ukraine, Michael McFaul wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post. McFaul, a specialist in organizing color revolutions, who later became US ambassador to Russia, revealed, "Did Americans meddle in the internal affairs of Ukraine? Yes. The American agents of influence would prefer different language to describe their activities: democratic assistance, democracy promotion, civil society support, etc. But their work, however labeled, seeks to influence political change in Ukraine." Anyone familiar with the history of the Soros Open Society foundations in Eastern Europe and around the world since the late 1980s, will know that his supposedly philanthropic democracy-building projects in Poland, Russia, or Ukraine in the 1990s allowed Soros the businessman to literally plunder the former communist country's wealth, according to the New Eastern Outlook. During the 2016 presidential cycle, Soros committed $25 million to the 2016 campaign of Hillary Clinton, per the standard Clinton operating procedure. This was indicative of the symbiotic relationship of favors between the billionaire and his array of political puppets across the globe. As a testament to the power wielded by Soros, contained within WikiLeaks' recent release of hacked DNC emails, is a message from billionaire globalist financier George Soros to Hillary Clinton while she was US Secretary of State, that clearly reveals Clinton as a Soros puppet. Found within the WikiLeaks Hillary Clinton email archive is an email with the subject "Unrest in Albania," in which Soros makes clear to Clinton that 2 things need to be done urgently. He then directs the Secretary of State to bring the full weight of the international community to bear on Prime Minister Berisha and appoint a senior European official as mediator, revealing the influence he wields within the corridors of power. Soros then provides Secretary of State Clinton with 3 names from which to choose. Unsurprisingly, Clinton acquiesced and chose one of the officials recommended by Soros, Miroslav Lajčák. Make no mistake that the events you're seeing transpire nationwide are being orchestrated in part by a billionaire political elite class that is looking to subvert the will of the American people by attempting to foment a new American revolution. Soros' formula has been duplicated in numerous nations, and it looks as if he now has the US in his sights as the next target.
Organising anti-Trump rallies is called Move On. It's calling for action and demonstrations against the president-elect nationwide. However, Move On apparently has ties to billionaire investor George Soros. There's a name to conjure with. That information came to light from the emails leaked by WikiLeaks from Hillary Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. In the leaked emails, Soros is told about activists who need funding, with the Move On group highlighted. Interesting turn of events.
We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us, Soros.